What is going on, everyone? I am Delso. Today I'm diving into Dragon Ball Sparking Zero after earning the Platinum Trophy. This is the long-awaited return of the Budokai Tenkaichi series, and while it delivers the over-the-top combat that the fans love, it also comes with a few surprises, some good and some frustrating. First, for all my fellow trophy hunters, nothing is missable. A couple of grindy spots, yes, but nothing too terrible. Unless we're talking about the online trophies, but more on that later. Let's start with the combat, because that's the heart of Sparking Zero. If you grew up on Tenkaichi like me, you might jump into mashing buttons. Against the CPU, that can still get you by, but once you hit the later episode battles or step online, you realize that this game has real depth. Attack cancels, defensive options, teleport punishes, it rewards actually learning mechanics instead of button mashing through. Now, the story mode is one of the biggest draws that this game have, since you are always reliving the saga, but here is the twist. Instead of going chronologically, Sparking Zero tells you the story by character arc. That means that you can finish Goku's story all the way into Super, then suddenly start Vegeta's back in the Saiyan Saga. This constant jumping back and forth gives you a patchy retelling of the story. It makes you focus on your character, yes, but personally I think it makes the whole thing feel very disconnected. Also, this does not take into account other omissions like the original Dragon Ball story or the Dragon Ball GT route. Part of the story are the sparking episodes, the what-if scenarios that remix iconic fights. These actually come with full cutscenes instead of just slideshow panels like for the rest of the story, which is awesome, but unlocking them can be a headache. Sometimes you trigger one by accident just by winning the wrong way, or you get pulled into a side path you didn't even want. They are cool in theory but clunky in execution, and they overlap with the already existing bonus battles. And while we're here, let's talk about the difficulty. Everyone remembers the Ape Vegeta fight that wrecked people at launch, but even later you run into fights where you face multiple opponents with no checkpoints, like the Ginyu Force or part of the Tournament of Power. Honestly, unless you enjoy the pain, you can just drop the difficulty and abuse Sparking mode into Ultimates. And that's what I did. Outside of the main story, you have bonus battles. And as I said before, they overlap with the Sparking episodes in the sense that they let you play alternative scenarios of the story, but they also make you try different characters, which is smart because one of the biggest strengths this game has is its big roster. Which, by the way, it is still not complete, but it is still the largest in Dragon Ball game history. Finishing this offline content drops a pile of cash and rewards, but the game never tells you where they are. You need to check Xeno's orders in the menu to claim them. Why the game hides this, I do not know. And same with Dragon Balls. You collect them all eventually, but the rewards are very overwhelming. A few characters, some titles, and ability items. Honestly, not worth farming beyond what you can unlock naturally. Of course, Porunga farm needs to be mentioned because it is one which has the lowest drop rates and requires specific farming in offline mode. Now, for the part that was both the best and the worst of my Platinum run, the online. There is a trophy for 100 matches. You don't need to win, which is merciful, but here's the thing. Online is where you actually learn about the game. The tutorial that you have when you boot up the game for the first time only teaches you about the basics. But fighting real players forces you to master cancels, spacing and defense, all of which you can find under the super training in a main menu. That said, the community experience wasn't great. I had trash talkers, salty messages, not exactly welcoming. Still, for pure gameplay, online is where Sparking Zero shines the brightest. So let's wrap this all up with pros and cons. For pros, the game has gorgeous visuals, genuinely jaw-dropping at times. It has the largest roster to date, and the combat still nails that chaotic, over-the-top Tenkaichi feel. While for the cons, as I said, the story mode feels patchy due to the character-based structure, the offline content is very thin, bonus battle and tournaments don't fully replace it, what's missing, and AI difficulty spikes into straight-up unfair. For the score I can give this game, I give this a 7.5 out of 10, and the platinum difficulty is a 6 out of 10. A little grindy, online required, but still manageable. And that was my review of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero after going all the way to the platinum. I'm experiencing with new format, so if you got feedback, drop it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.